Hello and welcome back to a very special episode of the Bunch of Nuts podcast. We have officially followed through on our promise. We are now on YouTube. Got Cass to my left, Blake below me. Just kind of a big day, big week overall for Ohio State. But Blake is here, or should I say Phil Steele, with his new article. So Blake, I'm gonna take it away because we've been previewing this for the past couple of weeks. It's here. We have Cass. Really great article, but the floor is yours.
Guys, thanks for having me back on. It's always exciting to be here with you guys. Put a lot of hours into this article.
You're like an honorary member right now at the Bunch of Nuts podcast.
I'll take it. It's great.
You should be in the Football Writers of America at this point.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. So spent a lot of hours working on this. I've got my Heisman watch list in there, a couple of teams to watch for various reasons. Top 25. Curious of your guys' thoughts, especially on the top 10. But one of the teams that's really intriguing to me is USC a lot this year. If you look at, they got the big hire with Lincoln Riley, got Caleb Williams, got Travis Dye. What are they going to look like? They're a very popular pick in Vegas to win the national championship. And what are they going to do? They're in the Pac-12 softer conference. So I'm curious of your guys' thoughts. I think that they are going to be a little too soft on line of scrimmage and a little too weak on the defensive side of the ball to actually get to the playoff, but I still think they're going to be a force in the Pac-12 and most likely a 10-win team.
I think USC has I think they have the offense. It is the defense, the huge question. And you look back and historically for Lincoln Riley, it's been historically his defense. He brought over Alex Grinch. Alex Grinch come back over from Oklahoma. They're like, a tandem right now. And Alex Grinch did upgrade the Oklahoma defense a little bit. But you get a transfer from Ohio State, Bryson Shaw, who probably will be a starter out there. But luckily enough for USC, they have the time to fix that defense with the schedule that they have. Yeah, they got Utah, they got Notre Dame, but their non-conference ain't very good. I mean, I think Utah and Notre Dame might be the two hiccups. I haven't really looked in depth into their schedule, but yeah, I like USC a lot too. But I liked Utah more. I did see Utah in your top 10, and did see Utah as a college football playoff finalist. It just depends what Utah shows up on week one. Got to drive across the country to go play Florida, but those two teams are very interesting to me. I completely agree.
I mean, Blake, I think you're spot on about USC's record going to be 10-2. I do not agree with, I think, where they'll finish. I think if USC is 10-2, they'll be in a top 10 team just because with the hype of Lincoln Riley and everything. But I mean, we were talking about this just privately on Slack though. USC is basically, I think, us from last year. They got the elite quarterback, the elite play caller. They're going to have a great wide receiver core for the most part. Dye's obviously not Travian Henderson, but he's by college football standards, he's a monster. He's probably one of the most efficient backs. They got a first-round offensive line talent in their tackle. Really no excuses why this offense shouldn't put up, 20, 28, 35, 40 points a game. It's really they're going to be a top 10 offense. But that defense, the defense is where I have no idea what we're going to see. And Utah, a team like Utah, yeah, they're going to be boring. They're going to be Utah, but they're an established program, the Pac-12. I agree with your ranking there. And it's funny. Like, I know we dog Bryson Shaw, but I was just thinking about this with my buddy today. If Bryson Shaw, he makes that pick against that team up north, and let's say we win a close game, I think the perspective on Bryson Shaw has completely changed. We're out here defending him, he's not that bad. He made a big play. So I don't know. I just found that interesting. But Blake, I mean, I love the article. And I mean, it's great. It was a great piece of writing.
Thank you. And yeah, you were my special consultant on the USC picks. I know we actually talked pretty at length about USC because I was kind of torn on where they were going to be this year. And then you kind of reminded me of a few things. And I'm with you guys there. And Utah, you saw how Utah finished the year last year where they beat Oregon twice in 3 games. And then how they came into the Rose Bowl and played. I mean, I know they had a couple of injuries, but that game was a lot of fun watching them. But you could tell that team is trending up. And that offseason, that propelled them into the offseason, even though they lost.
Well, too,
And they have,
you look at the landscape of the Pac-12. Sorry to cut you off. They're the most stable thing out there because everyone else is either losing, like Oregon's losing their coach, Washington, they're kind of in turmoil a little bit. USC's getting a new coach. They have the only established program for the most part.
yeah, I agree with you. And Kyle Whittingham is an exceptional coach, and he always has a solid defense. So Utah's going to have a great defense again. I mean, that Rose Bowl is not indicative of what that defense is going to be like this year. It's going to be indicative of the offense per se, but that defense is not going to be the defense we saw in the Rose Bowl. It's going to be a solid run-stopping defense where you're going to have to earn every yard, and they have a potential to honestly have a top 10 or top 20 offense and also a top 10 defense, being one of the most balanced teams in the country. And that's why I have them heading to the college football playoff this year. I think they're going to break that West Coast stigma and get through this year just because I think Georgia takes a step back. They're still going to be great. They're still going to win the East. And I think it's going to be too much trouble for Notre Dame to get to the playoff there.
I think Clark Phillips for Utah too, he got kind of abused by us, but I think that was more the fact that he was playing with like 5 other janitors because he's got some of these kids I think were like walk-ons in the secondary for that game.
Right.
So it was kind of like a weird situation, and I think he would be better. The defense would be better. That's what I think.
My question is the mentality of the Tennessee players, because they know there's some punishment coming. Will they have this mentality? Okay, this could be the year, because they're not going to do a bowl ban this year. The bowl ban and scholarship things are going to happen probably after this season with the Jeremy Pruitt stuff, if it happens. But the players, if you got to think in their minds, Tennessee players, okay, this is the year. This is the year we have to go and try to win the East, because this is the time. If we want to make something happen and make Tennessee football great again, this is the year. Because they have the team to do it. They have the coach. They're bringing back a veteran team, and Tennessee is very, very interesting. The SEC East, in my opinion, is the one division in college football that I really have my eye on, because Florida has a pretty good, decent quarterback in Anthony Richardson. You got Spencer Rattler in South Carolina and company, and then you got Tennessee, and then you got Kentucky. Georgia may not be a sure thing in that SEC East championship game because they can say what they want and believe in Stetson Bennett, but they lost a ton of guys on defense, and these Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky could be very, very hungry, and it could be that's why the SEC East is very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, it's certainly not going to be a walk in the park for, let's say Georgia does win it again. They're going to have to earn a lot more of their wins this year than they did last year. And in terms of all of that, when you're playing South Carolina, Florida is a rivalry game. Kentucky is going to be a big game this year. That actually might decide the East. I mean, there are a lot of new factors into the SEC East this year. Georgia's still the favorite and the top team in that division, but it's definitely going to be a tougher path than
it could be. It could be an instance where it's like the Big Ten West, where they all beat each other up.
I could see a world where like Stetson Bennett comes in the first half of the year and just slings it for some reason against weaker opponents.
And then the cologne wears off.
And then like he's like, September Heisman guy, front runner, or just like really in the Heisman Trophy, race, and then he'll have like one bad game against like one bad game, throw a couple picks, the Georgia loses, and then that's it.
Yeah, back on earth.
So I have to ask you, Blake. I read your article. I did see where you had Clemson in the playoffs. I'm assuming you think they'll go undefeated in the regular season. I just briefly read it because I was a little bit busy today. My interesting thing is, could we see 2 Big Ten teams, for instance, like get in the playoffs? Because if the way it has it and the schedule fits, Michigan could go undefeated, lose to Ohio State, and they could get that second spot in the playoff, even though they aren't playing for a Big Ten championship. But if teams like Georgia wins the SEC East with two losses, Alabama will probably go undefeated. I don't think anybody's in the West going to contend against Alabama. And then you get Utah, like you say, Utah. Could it come down to a factor where if the Big 12 champion has like 2016, where Ohio State got in with one loss, not a conference champion, but they got in over other conference champions. Could you see where Michigan could get in over a Big 12 champion or possibly a Pac-12 champion?
I have a theory on this, but Blake, the floor is yours.
Cass, I do agree with you. I think that's going to be a really interesting wrinkle in this year's playoff race. And Dan knows because we were talking about it on the last episode I did here, and just also privately. I'm kind of torn. If you look at the playoff, most people see Alabama and Ohio State as 1-2. Like, that's a clear selection. Then you have this pool of teams from about 3 to 6, where that is going to be Clemson, Utah. You'll have Notre Dame, Georgia, and Michigan. And I 100% agree with you. I do think that they could come into Columbus at 11-0 because their schedule is pretty favorable if you look at it in every which way. They don't play a team with a pulse really until they go into Iowa City. And that game most likely is going to be a night game. So they're going to earn their stripes.
They're back
right there.
The back three in their schedule, I want to say it's like Illinois, Rutgers, and
Ohio State. I know that.
Or like Maryland or Nebraska. It's like one of those three, and then Ohio State.
I think it's Maryland. I think it goes Maryland, Illinois, Ohio State.
There's Rutgers in there, I believe.
Yeah, and
it's not good. But Blake, I'll do you one better. With the era of the super conferences, I could see them doing 2 SEC, 2 Big Ten teams, and then bye everyone else. Like, I could see that happening. That's my kind of theory. Like, what happens if Georgia does the same thing? The Georgia Bama situation, one's has 1 loss, one's the SEC champ. Ohio State's, Big Ten champ, undefeated. Michigan 1 loss. Why wouldn't you want to put, both teams in there? Think about it. The TV ratings would be enormous too.
It would be, but I think it just depends how many losses that the ACC champion has, how many losses the Big 12 champion have, and how many losses the Pac-12 champion has.
Yeah,
but if let's really unpack this for a minute, just by conference on that, because I did debate that scenario too, where you had Alabama and Ohio State, and then you had Michigan and Georgia being your 4, because that's extremely likely based on certain factors. So we'll start with the ACC. Clemson, they underachieved to get to 10 wins last year. Their offense was very stagnant. They had injuries. Their defense is going to be stellar this year. It's probably going to be the best in the country. If not, it's going to be in the top 5, top 10. They're going to be solid. However, they could still lose 2 games. They've got Notre Dame on their schedule in the middle of the year. And I believe that game is in South Bend. And I think that Notre Dame is going to beat Clemson in that game. So that's going to be 1 loss for Clemson there. And I don't know if Clemson's going to run the table in the ACC there. And Pitt's not going to go undefeated, neither is NC State or Miami. But those 3 opponents, they're formidable opponents this year by ACC standards. So someone can pull an upset on Clemson, and then, okay, that's 1 team out. And then what if in the Big 12, Oklahoma's been the top dog? They could have 2 losses this year. What's Brett Venables going to be? We haven't seen him.
They're likely to cannibalize each other for the most part, even though I do like Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma is going to be a good team. They could be 10 wins, but Oklahoma, Baylor, and Oklahoma State or Texas, those could all be 10-2 teams, or 10-2, 10-2, 9-3.
And you know what's going to I could totally see a world too where like a couple of them are like 9-0, 8-0, we're looking real good. But the Big 12, I feel like always near the end of the year, like they always lose. Like Oklahoma State could be a great team, and then they'll lose like the last couple games. Baylor, we've even seen Oklahoma and Texas do it. It's just the conference is a little wonky.
Yeah, it is. And I think I completely agree with you guys. But I think if it comes down to it, hear me out. If it comes down to it, you got Michigan with 1 loss, Notre Dame with 1 loss, Georgia with 1 loss. I'm throwing USC with 1 loss. Just hearing this out. Money grabs. They will Georgia. Somebody's getting left out, and it will be probably Georgia. Here's why.
Well, the USC Notre Dame rivalry.
Well, they'll have just played the last week of the season, USC Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's true.
So the winner of that game would be.
Yeah, but USC's non-conference outside of Notre Dame's favorable. If USC runs the table and the Pac-12 goes undefeated but still loses that last game to Notre Dame, they still got to go play next week and play in the Pac-12 championship and win that game. I'm telling you, USC has 1 loss. USC's getting in no matter what. No matter what.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I mean, Vegas TV networks, everybody's going to be able, and the sport and I said this in my article too, the sport desperately wants USC to be good again. Desperately wants Texas, Miami, all 3 of those teams. Like Ohio State broke the U. 20 years ago. They've not really been the same team since, but the sport's longing for those teams to be good again. So any chance that they get, that's why Texas is always quote unquote back every year for 2 weeks. And then you're like, okay. But
Texas will be back until the first half against Alabama. I'm telling you that right now.
Bama's winning that game by 30.
What if Texas just spanks Alabama out of nowhere?
You'd have to wake up from your dream.
That would be the funniest thing. Just like
turn off NCAA.
No one would see it coming. No, everyone's picking Bama. Like Texas just beats Bama by like 30. That would not happen. But
and honestly, I know everybody. Will Anderson's a dog on defense, but outside of him, and they got some solid players. But you know what? It's the end of July. Players are back at the Woody
in a week. It's a countdown. Clay Hall was just on. He said it's about to get real.
Dude, those players, them players. Camp starts next week. But they've been working out. I mean, we've been hearing nothing but great things about our boy Joe Royer. But here it is, the end of July. We're 5 weeks away from Ohio State football, 4 weeks away from college football. And it's all predictability right now, what we can predict and blah, blah, blah. And I love it. I love the new shirts that they brought out. It says, "We broke Miami" with the hurricane logo. And then I did see the throwing shade at Miami and Notre Dame where it says Catholics versus draft picks. Did you guys happen to see that shirt?
I did see that shirt.
I have to buy that shirt for my tailgate because I think I've unfortunately, I think sadly opted out of paying for the Notre Dame game. I'm poor. I'm not paying, $600 or whatever. So I think I'm just going to do a giant like tailgate at my house for the Notre Dame game. So I'm getting that shirt.
Yeah. Ryan Day said Notre Dame and Michigan are both sold out. So it's all going to be the resale market now. And those prices are going to be even more expensive than they were prior to that.
I waited for the Luke Combs tickets. By the way, if you missed Buckeye Country Superfest, I feel sorry for you. Anyone listening, that was the best concert I've ever been to. Luke Combs, he dunked on Michigan. He literally dunked with his Appalachian State joke. That was a softball down the middle, but I'm glad he took it because it shows he had awareness. And just some of the music he played was awesome. Like Beer Never Broke My Heart at the end. Unreal Buckeye Country Superfest. That's my side tangent for the day.
Can we still keep dumping on Michigan? I have a question for the two of you.
Sure.
Okay. Does Desmond Howard have CTE?
No, because he didn't get the ball enough in the NFL.
I mean, he's a Super Bowl MVP. I will give him that. But how can you sit there and say that Michigan's wide receiver room is better than Ohio State's? I will go on record right now. Here it is, July 28th. If their top receiver has a better statistical year than Marvin Harrison Jr., I will recite "Hail to the Victors" on the pot.
There's zero chance.
Zero chance.
Yeah.
Zero.
But you know what?
Are they counting Donovan Edwards as a receiver? Like, what is he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he's Curtis Samuel 2.0.
I know.
The Ann Arbor edition.
I guess.
I don't know what the dude is thinking. Is he like Ian Rappaport, like where Ian Rappaport tweeted out yesterday saying Joe Burrow underwent surgery and then had Bengal fans freaking out. And then come to find out when you click the article, it was just an appendectomy. I mean, is he just trying to get clicks and get the rise out of more Buckeye fans? I mean,
it's a great question, Cass. We can't.
Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
No, you go.
I was gonna say that's the thing with these media outlets is they know how to push people's buttons to get those clicks and everything. And good, better, and different. Ohio State fans are clicking because we're a very passionate fan base, and we don't just worry about us. We worry about everybody's business too, especially team up north. So I mean, he's gonna say something like that. He's getting a rise out of the entire state and the country from that one. But Des is goofy.
It's getting close too because it's like late July. Early September is prime Desmond Howard says something stupid season, and it's here. So it's great. It's great to be back, boys. It's really great to be back. But we can't support Desmond Howard because he is enemies with Big Game Boomer. I mean, Big Game Boomer came on the show and said he was drawing at Desmond Howard. So we got to protect Big Game Boomer. He's a friend of the pod.
Yeah,
so
and let me tell you, this is a Big Game Boomer came out with his best student sections ranking list. This is my quest to you, Buckeye Nation student section. You can't be 12th on the Big Ten student section list. You have to rise up to the occasion and get that back up to number one. Quit sitting on your hands. Quit being drunk at the game. There's a lot of night games. It's going to be rowdy. I guarantee that ranking jumps up this year.
And two, you know what? That's a generous spot because I gotta admit, the past like 2 or 3 seasons I've seen the student section, it's lame. It's a lot of these guys, like they're not even filling it out. The majority of students get rowdy, but like there's too many people that are leaving too early and just like not coming at all, getting too drunk. Like, come for the game, please. Get rowdy.
This is not state college. We don't go to football games to get drunk. We go to football games to win football games and
then get drunk.
Be Buckeye Nation. Yeah, exactly.
And Penn State and Penn State fans' defense, their biggest game of the year, they're just sub 500, so they have to get drunk to get ready for that game. I mean, it's a great atmosphere, but it really, honestly. But Big Ten Media Days, we got to capture that. Jim Harbaugh, dude looks deer in the headlights, man. I think he knows what's up. Just his facial expressions when he's talking about what their goals were and his facial expression about his no comment. Dude, he knows what's up. He knows what's coming up.
He was November. Like slowly adding to the goals. He's like, our goal is to win the Big Ten and beat Michigan State and Ohio State. And win the national championship. He realized going through it that like his goals were like he's not obtaining any of these.
I think he beat Sparty.
Yeah, I think so too. It's not gonna happen 3 times in a row.
I think he wins. I think he goes undefeated at home and loses at Iowa and loses at Ohio State.
Yeah, that's pretty likely.
Yeah, I don't know. That game, that also might be the toughest pick of the year, Michigan versus Michigan State. It really always is the toughest pick of the year. That's one game who you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, because crazy things always happen in that game too. Also, Michigan's quarterback situation. J.G. McCarthy or Cade McNamara? What's your guys' pick?
It's Cade week 1. I think Harbaugh is going to go with the most comfortable pick.
Didn't Harbaugh say some dumb comment like they're both hard to beat out or something?
Yeah, he did.
Such a weird comment. He's a weird dude. He had a week. I don't want to get into the other stuff he was talking about because we're not in keep that out of here. But this is a weird week for Jim Harbaugh. He did not do good at Big Ten Media Days at all. He did not look well.
And Cade McNamara, he spit out saying that he was surprised. Which everybody was surprised. Everybody in the nation was surprised on how the gap was in that game against Ohio State. But Zach, I'm going to quote Zach Smith because I listen to his podcast because he's great analytics and stuff. But he's like, when are these players going to shut up? It's facts. Yeah, it's facts. But those boys at the Woody, 30 minutes up the road from me, they know what's up. I mean, you could tell just by the way Stroud and Jigba and Ronnie Hickman were presenting themselves at Big Ten Media, and even Ryan Day, even Ryan Day's press conference, the dude's mad. He lost on 3 recruits, defensive recruits, maybe more. The dude is mad right now. The dude, you could tell Ryan Day is ready for a bloodbath, and Notre Dame is unfortunately the first team that we play.
What were your guys' thoughts on the Caleb Downs commitment? Because we never really we're not a big recruiting show, but that was a big kind of loss. What were your guys' thoughts on that? Because it's fine in my opinion. I think he seriously thought about us and just went with Bama. But I think today, we did a pretty good job of hashtag Downs to Columbus on Twitter and everything. We all tried. It's just. I feel good about it because I think if it doesn't work out with Bama, I think he's absolutely coming to Ohio State. We might win the long game. Trust me on this.
Here's what I think real quick. And I said this to you, Dan. In order for Ohio State to start getting these top end defensive recruits, keep in mind last year's recruiting class was defensive heavy. You look at all when they released the practice jerseys like Sonny Styles, just to throw him in the mix. there's a lot of 4 and 5 star defensive players we were defensive heavy last year. So again, these players, but they also got to see the product on the field. Yeah, Jim Knowles may not be the best recruiter, but it's the other 3 defensive guys that Ryan Day brought in that are going to be the recruiting. Knowles is going to put the formula for the defense. What I think is these players right now, they want to see what the product's going to be on the field. Mm-hmm. I guarantee if we have a top 15 defense, these 4 and 5 star defensive players are going to start rolling in. But I'm not sweating it.
It does make it critical for Knowles to get this right year one.
Yeah.
Just because he needs to, sure. Once if the defense is top 10 defense and the players see the product on the field, like you said, they're gonna come. It's just they don't know what the two linebacker situation rumor, how that's gonna work out. We're kind of loaded at DB already and everything.
We got 10. I think it was 10 linebackers in that room.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll be fine. I'm not worried. I'm not sweating.
Yeah, I think so too. And that's the thing with recruiting, like that you said last year was the defensive heavy class. That's where you can get away with having a great class every other year because you still have guys in that room that you're going to have the rotation. You're going to have the guy starting. CJ Hicks is a monster. Sonny Styles is going to be great. So the thing people forget though is there's talent on the Ohio State defense. It just wasn't maximized last year. Kerry Combs and the defensive staff, they didn't maximize the talent that was on the Ohio State defense. So everyone is really looking at the Buckeye defense right now, the silver bullets, and going, are they going to be good? There's no question that there's great players in that room. It's just their talent and their skill sets have to be maximized in a more simplistic version to just let them be them and play within themselves and execute instead of having to think about a million things. You saw the players saying, oh yeah, we had to think about 1,000 things last year. And now we're just getting to fly around. That's going to be huge in itself.
I feel like too, like Jeff Hafley's, like when Jeff Hafley had his like defense and everything, like it was just so simple. It felt like, and every time like, Greg Schiano or like Kerry Combs comes in and tries to really complicate it, you could tell guys were lost. They had no idea what to do. Under Hafley, at least they just kind of played real fast.
And a lot of these message boards too, and Zach Smith even said this too, a lot like going off what Dan said, the defenses were, not necessarily complicated, but there was just too much. And I think that's why you saw a lot of these players. Jim Knowles is going to simplify the defense, but he's going to make it also aggressive. That's what I'm excited to see.
Like, why are we dropping Zach Harrison in the coverage last year? Why are we having Tough Borland cover Devonta Smith? Like, these questions need to be asked and answered because that's not something a simplistic defense does.
Yeah. And two, Ryan Day's put the quote out at media days. He said, we expect a top 10 defense. He's not going to say that if he doesn't think the players in that room can do that. Of course, every coach wants a top 10 defense, but if you didn't recruit to a level to have a top 10 defense, you're not going to say it. You're not going to believe it like that. Okay, we're going to have a great defense, but Day knows there's the talent in that room on that side of the ball to have a top 10 defense this year. And I don't know if they're going to have a top 10 defense. It'll be top 10 in certain categories, but it's going to be much improved and it's going to be good enough to win a national championship.
And we might get the Lou Groza Award winner. I'm just saying Noah Ruggles is back. Just
true.
We're forgetting about our boy.
That mullet's flowing, man. That mullet is flowing. And Zach Smith said it correctly. He's like, there's only been one in the playoff era. There's only been one defense that was top 15 to win a national championship. He's like, all it matters is what you do on third down. If you get off the field on third down,
they're down red zone.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. We're at, like I said, we're at the end of July. We're heading into, camp next week. I mean, wow. What we're hearing out of Joe Royer and Tommy Eichenberg, I'm excited to see those two play this year. It's good. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, captains will be being named soon. And then of course at the end of August, the week before the game, the number 0 jersey. Who's going to wear that? The Block O jersey. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
I think Cam Babb wears the Block O.
I was just going to ask you guys that. I think so too.
I see Cam Babb.
Him or Terada Mitchell.
Or we bring back 8th-year eligibility, Demario McCall, just to get him the rocket. I miss him. I miss him so much.
Dude, he
I don't
got
remember.
cut. He got cut from somewhere, and now he's doing something else. I saw. I forget what it was, but
I think it was like the Bears rookie camp or something. By the way, Michael Gallup is hurt, not going to play the first couple of weeks. The Noah Brown breakout season is happening as predicted. I just want to be ahead of this. This is the time, folks.
and Michael Thomas has officially shown up to camp for the Saints. So
Good job.
Olave, Michael Thomas.
Won't play Mike.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a great offense down in New Orleans. It's going to be a lot of fun with Olave and Michael Thomas.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, they have to score points because now Tampa has Julio Jones and
Just saw
Tom
that.
Brady.
We got a few minutes left here, about a little under 3. I just want to get your thoughts on this. One last thing, some basketball talk. CJ Stroud said, and I have to bring this up, that him and 4 other Ohio State guys could beat our basketball team. I agree. I 100% agree about this. I 100% agree, but I want to get your guys' thoughts.
I don't think so because they play football for a living, and these guys play basketball. I think the basketball team is going to be better than what people think.
All right, if I'm saying if our football team got to train under the basketball version of Mickey Marotti for like 6 months, I think they win. Our boys win.
It's possible.
I'm with Cass. I also haven't seen film of these guys playing action make that call just like that. But no, those guys are playing basketball. These guys are playing football. Obviously, everybody has great days in the gym, and I'm sure these guys are solid basketball players. But
could they if they were to play 10 times and they like matched up, let's say just once in the NCAA tournament, could they knock them out of the NCAA tournament? That's the question.
If the game is played in March, the air is different.
Exactly.
Hands down. Hands down.
CJ Stroud isn't missing in March. That dude, that dude doesn't miss on his throws. Imagine he's probably an unreal shooter or something.
Hands down, they'll beat him in March because Holtman can't win in March.
I could see Stroud kind of being a baller too. He's got the like a small forward body. He looks like he could be like Keita Bates Diop out there, like Marvin Harrison at the wing, DeWand at the center, JT at the 4. He's bigger than Kyle Young. Like they're eating. I'm telling you.
Did you happen to see them ask CJ Stroud what his NCAA rating would be? And he said, "What do you think?" And he gave him that. What do you think? And someone said in the 90s, he's like, "Bro." By the way, follow Andrew Brown on Andrew Brown. I don't know what position he plays, but follow him on TikTok. The dude is hilarious. He went around asking, players who has the best grip. The best answer was Marvin Harrison Jr. saying, "It's me." It's so funny.
I love it. He does rock it, like the satchel and everything. So as a satchel man, I love it. But got about less than a minute here. Anything else before we wrap it up, boys?
Rapid playoff picks, go.
Oklahoma, not in order. Bama, Ohio State, Michigan.
Ohio State, USC, Bama, and Michigan.
I've got Bama, Ohio State, Clemson, and Utah.
All right. Well, I love it, boys, but that does it for another episode of the Bunch of Nuts podcast. Check us out. Make sure you like us on YouTube and everything for the algorithm. We're going to be posting more videos from our previous episodes, but as always, go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.